Hi, I'm Alex, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a review of the writing experience on the Tab S8 Ultra, this massive tablet here. To be aiding me to help you understand what it's like, I've also got the iPad Pro 12.9 inch, the latest version, and a very different device. I've got an e-ink Remarkable 2 that gives you a little bit of a different perspective. So I've bought all these devices with my own money. This isn't a sponsor review. I just want to show you what the writing experience is like, as I'm really impressed. I think it might be helpful if you're considering this or any of these devices as part of your purchase decision. So with that said, on with the video. What makes this tablet different to other tablets on the market? Really simply, it's the size. This thing is absolutely massive. I'm going to cover the size in a little bit more detail later, but it just feels to me like an unlimited canvas. I've got an A4 piece of paper here, and if I put that over there, now you can see it's not massively different. The A4 paper is slightly wider and the tablet is slightly taller. But I'm going to say that this size is the gold standard for writing. It's what most of us are used to writing with on a very regular basis. And if we're making that transition, I think it says a lot that A4 paper has been around for a very long time, and that size and that form factor works really well. And I really like the tiny bit of extra length you've got on this tablet. It just makes it feel like it flows on forever and makes it part of a really enjoyable experience, particularly in regard to writing. The only thing, because you've got such a big canvas to mention, is you can see here, or possibly not, there's a slight curve in the display. In fact, I think it says a lot that you probably can't see it there. I'll show it you on an overhead video. Now, you can notice that when you look at it, it does cut into the screen a little bit. But when you're using this device for any period of time, that completely disappears. So in terms of the differentiation from this product from any other product that I know, the form factor is literally unique, and it makes it a very immersive, very engaging writing experience. So I'm now going to talk about writing feel, and I think the best way to show this is simply to turn this device on and just talk through how it feels to write. So you've got a nice thin pen. If you like a thicker pen, then that's not what comes in the box, but you've got this huge canvas, and if I just start to write here, now importantly, you've got a soft nib here. Now, what this means when writing on glass is it's a very smooth experience. There isn't that much friction. In fact, there's very little noise. But what Samsung have done to compensate this is, if you might be able to hear here, now that's a completely manufactured noise. It's coming out of the speakers. Samsung knows where you're moving the pen and just makes a noise to replicate that. Now at first, I think that can seem really annoying. It certainly annoyed me. However, when I start to write on this device for, half an hour, a couple of hours at a time, I find it really quite almost soothing. Part of what I'd expect from a writing experience, a slightly scratchy noise, and I miss it when it's gone because it takes away that tactile feeling. Because it's a very smooth writing experience, I can see why Samsung have added that on. However, you can turn it off if you don't like it. I'm next actually going to go to the Remarkable 2 as a quick comparison, because here it makes a not dissimilar noise, but you have a friction sort of feeling with that. The tip seems somewhat similar, but there's a slight grain on this tip and a slight friction on the glass here. It just creates a slight noise, friction, and quite an enjoyable experience, one that is actually more like writing with a pen and paper. You've then got the iPad. Now, the iPad is the most sold tablet globally, and it has, I'm going to say, a passable writing experience. The nib is quite a bit harder, but I've never liked writing on the iPad as much, although I have written with it for years, so it is something you can get used to. But it just feels like it drags a lot more. It taps every time you put it down, whereas if I compare this here, You can create a tap noise. There is a slight tap noise, but it's much, much more gentle. If I do that here, I'm going to say it's dampened with both the Remarkable 2 and the Samsung tablet, whereas it just feels there's a clicking noise each time I put the pen down. So it's not a writing experience I enjoy. It's perfectly functional, and although the Remarkable 2 and the Samsung tablets offer very different writing experiences, the writing feels, I do enjoy both of them in different ways. Latency is how long it takes from you writing with the digital pen to that going on the digital canvas. So the latency numbers, if they mean anything, and they do, and I'll explain it in more detail, 2.8 milliseconds for the Samsung tablet, 9 milliseconds for the Apple tablet, and about 21 milliseconds for the Remarkable 2. Now, let's put this into context. There's 1,000 milliseconds in each second. So the fact that Samsung have got this down to under 3 milliseconds is absolutely phenomenal. They use AI and all sorts of clever things. Now, in practice, what that means from a writing experience, if I just open this, is it almost feels like writing with paper. There is really no delay, no lag, it is instantaneous. If you draw a very quick line very quickly and look just at the right angle, you can just about see a difference between where the pen is and where the canvas is, but to be honest, that's nitpicking, and nobody is writing at a speed legibly where that's an issue at all. So it just feels so natural, and oddly, at times it almost feels like there should be more latency with a pen on paper than there is with this. The iPad, by comparison, I mean, it's one of those, I don't know with the iPad if it's because I know there's a difference that I think there is. Maybe it's slightly slower. I mean, in one sense, it's 3 times slower, but this is perfect and not noticeable. And again, from a practical perspective, maybe if you're drawing in a straight line very fast, then this is better. From a practical perspective, this was perfect until this came out, is how I would describe it. It doesn't make me like the writing experience anymore, but certainly it doesn't detract from it. So finally, you've got e-ink, which is a different display technology and a little bit different. With the Remarkable 2, there is a slight delay between the pen being on the paper and those marks going down. Now, when you're writing, yes, you can see it if you focus on it, where these two devices, it's more like if you just draw it in a straight line, you can notice it. But I've written for hours and hours, probably days at a time now, on the Remarkable 2, and I wouldn't say it makes any material difference to the writing experience. It's something that I can live with, and I haven't heard many people complain about. With regard to functionality, the best way to talk you through this is to turn this on. There are so many features on the Samsung tablet. But before I do that, I'm just going to talk about what Samsung have had to do to get the functionality this high. So this is an Android tablet, and what Apple enjoys with its market dominance is a lot of third-party apps. So my app of choice on the Apple device is an app called Notability, but Apple have their own apps, and there are lots of very good apps to use for writing on the iPad. But Samsung doesn't have that luxury, so it's created its own Notes app. Now this isn't a new app, they've had it for years, they've used it on their phones and in their tablets for a very long time, and they've got it down to a T. I'm going to say it's so good that if this was on the Apple Store, I think it might still be my default note-taking app of choice. It does everything it needs to, and then probably a little bit more. So if I turn this on, I've got the app open here, and we can see here, you can type with a keyboard, you can attach one via Bluetooth, but let's focus on the writing. You've got lots of different pens, you've got lots of different colors, pressure sensitivity. It's just, you can play around with pen sizes, you've got highlighters, highlighter colors, different highlighter types, different ways to erase. you can lasso different objects, move them around, you can convert your handwritten notes to text on the fly. You've just got so many quick options here. You've got a back button, you can put things forward again. A really neat button here that I haven't seen in another device is it highlights different colors, so you can change the text that you've just written very, very quickly. You've got the ability to import pictures, you can work on PDFs, you can export really easily. So from a practical perspective, there isn't anything from a writing functionality point of view that this tablet doesn't do well. If I was going to be really nitpicky, because I use a Mac day to day, the Apple iPad does sync better with a Mac, which this is never going to do. But if you use Google Drive or a third-party system to move your files about, really, that's not going to be an issue in the slightest. In terms of functionality, I'd put this at about 100%. Now, I'd have to give the iPad similarly about 100%, maybe 99%, but the options you've got in choosing the right app that's right for you on the iPad might win some people over. Now, if I just compare that to e-ink and something completely different, for 90% of the time, I prefer writing on an e-ink screen. You haven't got that glare in your face, and I find it easier for hours and hours of writing. Now, there are certain things you're going to lose in that. You need another device to put PDFs on and off. You obviously haven't got color, and you do lose a little bit of that functionality, but I'd say 85 to 95% of your day-to-day writing is absolutely fine on the Remarkable 2, but these two, in terms of functionality, just take it to another level. So I could tell you that the Samsung has an 11,200 milliamp hour battery, and that probably means absolutely nothing to you. What it means in practice is that you'd struggle to go through using this, writing a whole day and go through the battery. I think you could give it a good go and drain an awful lot of the battery, but I don't think you could kill it in a day. I've been using it typically 2 to 3 hours at a time, and it takes me 3 to 4 days to drain the battery. But from a practical perspective, as long as you don't mind charging this device at night, then you won't have any issues with the battery with this device. Similarly, I'd say it performs very equitably with the iPad. Now, the Remarkable 2 and e-ink devices do perform a lot better in regards to battery. I'd say, in my experience, maybe 3 to 4 times better. However, you lose a lot of functionality and get a very different screen for that experience. Importantly, to summarise the battery, for most people, they should have no issues with it whatsoever. I said at the beginning of the video that the size is what differentiates this product from the others, and it does. However, at 14.6 inches, what it means is it's too big and too heavy to hold one-handed for any period of time. Now, it's easier to hold double-handed, I suppose, but you still wouldn't want to do that for a prolonged period. But if you're writing and looking to use this as a writing device, then holding it in your hand is not really an option. I'd say that's true of the iPad as well at 12.9 inches. Now, the Remarkable 2, if I take this out the case, is a not uncommon size at 10.3 inches. This is much lighter, much easier to hold. You do lose some of that screen real estate, but it gives you a good idea of 10 inches, 10.3 inches is the sort of size you want to be looking at if you need something to hold in your hand. However, how I've been using the Samsung as a writing device is leaning it against something. So for example, I could have it on the table here and write happily with it for a long period of time, but actually, now this is where it might differ for you. If I move here, I'm happily resting it on my knee. Now I will sit with a cross knee, and you may or may not, so it might not work for you, but I can sit like that for a long period of time. Now importantly, when I'm doing this, I'm not looking off to the left, which is a lot more uncomfortable to do, but just looking down here, relaxing, getting into it. That's a nice distance for me. I'm getting the whole screen there, and I think it's important to know how you might write and lean this against something. So you'd need a desk if writing is what you intend to do with it, or you'd need to lean it on your leg or something like that. But you have this very similar problem with the larger iPad, and both Apple and Samsung do make smaller tablets if you need something to hold in your hand one-handed and walk around with it. So this is not something size-wise that I'd want to be walking with for any period of time. In fact, I wouldn't really want to be taking it out. It's just big and cumbersome. Now I might move it from one place to another in a protective case, that's simple enough, but really this is for staying inside one office, maybe moving it between offices, and as I say, having something to rest it on, whether you're going to type on it, whether you're going to write on it, just something to give it some consideration to. But the other way of looking at the size, as I said in the beginning of this video, is this screen is absolutely gorgeous. And if you can find the right compromise to you, being able to access this screen, write on this screen, interact with the screen, might be worth that trade-off. These are not cheap devices. The Samsung and the Apple tablets today are about £1,000 or $1,000 each as starting prices. The Remarkable 2, which is a very different device, is going to cost you £300 to £400 or dollars. However, although I'd say neither of these tablets is worth it purely for a writing notebook perspective, if you're looking for one device that does everything, essentially you've got a budget for a laptop, computer, or a tablet that does it all, and the writing experience is an important part of that for you, then I would give some serious consideration price-wise to looking at this device. As an all-in-one computer with a fantastic writing experience, that price, as expensive as it is, might make some sense. So in summary, should you consider getting the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8 Ultra? I'd say at £1,000, if writing is really important to you, you've got the budget for one device of about £1,000, then I would give some serious consideration to looking at this device as an option. I think for most people, it's going to get a lot of computer functionality, and honestly, it's the best digital note-taking and writing experience I think that's out there. Now, it's going to be very similar, although a different form factor, in Samsung's other tablets, but where Samsung have taken their writing experience now, I'm very, very impressed. Now obviously, if you're looking at an e-ink tablet or something like that, and you don't want the LCD shining in your face, then this isn't going to be a consideration. But if writing is really important, I'd say look at this device. With that said, I hope this has been helpful. If you've got any questions or comments or thoughts, please leave them below. If you've liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, I've been Alex. Thanks for watching.